Hello, it's Sol with another video. Today we're going to do a little bit more focused feedback on patch 8.2. In the Mechagon zone, there's a daily quest that allows you to build the so-called perfect weapon, which after creating, you can use throughout the zone to help you out on your wasteland adventures. In my opinion, this is one of the highlights of the zone, and one of those cool staples of, video games, where you make something cool and you can use it. It's crazy, I know. As always, for more 8.2 coverage and all things Warcraft, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because that would be nice. And let's get right into it. So early in your Mechagon experience, you're going to run into this daily quest called Toys for Destruction. It's a simple daily where you click on the right item here somewhere to help build the so-called perfect weapon. Once that's done, you'll have made 1 out of 4 possible weapons that you can use with your extra action button. What's awesome is that you can use this weapon after the quest is over. And not just that, every time you craft a weapon from this daily, it shows up on the side just right over here, available for you to pick up anytime, even if the daily isn't available. So think of these as permanent buffs that you can pick up to help you get through the zone content, and they're pretty helpful. I'm going to go over all 4 weapons, which each have their own strengths and weaknesses. You may end up using any one of these, depending on your character, and what you're doing on Mechagon that day, so check them all out. First is the Lightning Zap. It's got a 1-minute cooldown and is a single target ability. It slows the target and applies damage over time based on its maximum HP. It also happens to give you a few spare parts during the channeling cast, which is kind of nice. This right here is the weapon of choice when hunting the biggest, baddest mobs in the zone because its damage is based on the target's HP. So on normal mobs, the dot only hits for like a couple hundred HP. But on the rares that have a couple million health, the Lightning Zap deals over 100,000 HP, which isn't bad for a 1-minute cooldown. If you're coming into Mechagon eager to fight some big game, this is the weapon of choice. For a pure DPS class, this might not be a lot of damage, but if you're hunting, you're probably not alone, so imagine a bunch of people with this weapon. That's gonna make short work of whatever threats pop up. Our next weapon is the Supercollider, which is a weird and somewhat unpredictable weapon. It's only got a 3-second cooldown, and it strikes enemies around you just like a warrior's whirlwind. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it does knock them back pretty far. There's also a chance that if the mobs are mechanical, they'll instantly die, but this doesn't seem to be very reliable. It doesn't work on non-mechanical mobs or rares. Between the low damage and the knockback, this doesn't seem to be a great weapon for farming, but it might be okay if you're on an undergeared toon who needs something reliable to keep mobs away from them. Given its low cooldown, this probably is the best weapon to keep mobs off of you. The next weapon is Rickets Special Delivery. It's a grenade launcher with a 20-second cooldown, it stuns enemies for a second, and it deals pretty decent damage. This is the ideal AoE weapon of choice if you're fighting a bunch of mobs that aren't super threatening. It's not as great if you're not a tank or you're otherwise not as sturdy because it's still only a 1-second stun, so just be prepared to defend yourself. But it's a great weapon for mass farming, given the AoE damage, and you can set the AoE target, so it's as reliable as you are. Haha. Finally, we have the Volatile Blaster, a crazy gun on a 15-second cooldown. When you cast it, it fires off 5 volleys of pew-pew laser fun. It deals some damage, and it knocks enemies back in a narrow AoE cone. This potentially has some pretty high single target damage because even when you're knocking them back, you're still going to hit them with every shot. But odds are good that the other enemies are going to be knocked back in an angle, so they're not going to take nearly as much damage. But this is an ideal weapon for people who are soloing large groups of mobs and need more than a 1-second stun to keep the enemy in control. This weapon shines if you're soloing elites and you need to put more distance between you and the enemy. But if you're mass farming, you're probably going to piss people off knocking enemies all over the place. So here's the quick summary. The Lightning Zap is your weapon for the toughest elites in the zone. The Supercollider is decent for keeping mobs off of you, especially if you're undergeared. Rickets Special Delivery is best for sustained AoE, especially when you're mass farming. And the Volatile Blaster gives a good balance between damage and crowd control, but it's not very ideal in groups. Not long into your Mechagon experience, you're going to have access to all 4 of these weapons, so choose your loadout and have a good time out there. That's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe for more coverage and all things Warcraft. See you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.